All right. Yes, so this church, this is fun. I love telling this story. So this is the church I was saved in. I grew up in a family that believed in God, but I believe like when I graduated from my parents' faith and got my faith, this was the place. I was baptized here, met my wife here, proposed to her here. I started working here 9 years ago, and now my kids are being raised up here. So I love this church, and it's been amazing. I was on the mission field with Dominic Russo actually in 2013 when I felt the call to ministry. At that moment, it was God, I felt him saying, I've called you to capture my movement and share it with my people. And I didn't know how that would kind of work in. It was a few years later in 2016 when I got hired here. The easiest way to describe it is I'm like the media director, but I wanted that pastoral role. I love to bury people, but teach the word and have those opportunities. So we kind of made it, the communications pastor position. It's been great. But yeah, today, simple goal. I want to help you be a better leader, and I think AI is a great tool, and strictly just that. It's a tool, and we're going to talk a little bit about what AI is and tools we can use. And I'll give you some homework. And I have these are from yesterday, but if you need the guest Wi-Fi, that's the password. I'm here today. And then we'll talk about these as well as we kind of get into it. So how many people agree with this? Church is the forefront of tech. Thank you. I needed one laugh, and that's all I got. That was great. Yes. No, even right here at this church, this church was built in 85, and I have like 30-year-old technology, and last Friday I bought a brand new piece of gear that I was so excited. It was already 7 years old by the time it came into my possession, brand new. So not necessarily, like church is not always the forefront, but that's all right. I think AI is something that is here, and there's a lot of affordable or free options, and I think this is something that we can really utilize. And the reality is, AI didn't catch God off guard at all. With a lot of things in history where we think it might be a negative, it didn't catch God off guard. So it's here. So let's utilize it. And I first want to just explain, I think it's good to have a base. This is kind of like a basic course on just the entry, what is AI and how do we use it. So when we say AI today, it's kind of not real. Mostly we're talking about LLMs, which are large language models. That's where like ChatGPT is that, and Gemini and all these that kind of, what they essentially do is they scrape data across the entire internet, and they are predictive models on what they think a human would want to, or what a human might sound like, or what a human answer might be. It's close to like when you're texting someone with a phone, and it has predictive text, the next word in your sentence. Like that's kind of helpful, but on like a majorly massive scale, that's what the LLMs are today. So artificial intelligence is like how I believe it. I don't see it. I have friends that work in this industry, and I don't see it being having a conscious and making those decisions. When we define AI today, there's actually no intelligence in that at all. It's strictly programmed, so there's no real mind behind it. It is programmed response or program learned, again, but just having the ability and capacity to handle so much, which is kind of interesting, and what the compute power it takes to manage these is insane. In fact, not profitable today at all. ChatGPT's enterprise model is $200 a month, and that's not profitable. Is that good business, Brother Tommy? If you can, yeah, that's terrible. Why? Well, it costs a ton of money and energy, and it also costs a ton in compute power. So how do you remedy that? Nuclear power, which isn't on the immediate horizon. I think it's an answer at some point, but as today, that's not there. Also, quantum computing, doesn't exist today, but that is what they believe is an option. Pastor Steve, they've probably been talking about quantum computing for 30 years, though. So I still don't know if that's a a thing that, they're talking about it today. Hey, quantum computing is a few years away, but literally you can go back 20 years ago and they've said the same thing. So again, I'm just kind of giving an overview of what we're talking about when we talk about AI. So let me make sure I hit all my marks there. Is there any questions just like on AI, where we're at today? Does that all kind of make sense? Yeah. Great. So large language models and the tools that we can use. So when we kind of go into utilizing different tools, it's kind of like, hey, what does your day look like? What does your week look like as a leader in a church, pastor in a church, and how can we flex these tools to make our life easier? There's a bunch of them. I think there's a lot of tasks that we can relieve that are that doesn't need to have the human connection. The biggest key about all this is like, hey, when we're ministers, we're leaders in the church, we can't lose that human connection. That's one of the most valuable things that we have. But there are things such as writing copy or utilizing it for clips for our socials and those sort of things. I think we're going to be in a better shape and have a better quality product than what we can create. I use it every week, every day, and it does better and quicker than what I can do. So I'm going to show just a couple of tools that I use. Does anyone in here manage or produce social media content for their church or their personal selves? Yeah. So I'm going to show you this. This is called Opus Clips. So I have this, opus.pro. And this is one of my favorite tools. And I actually have here, this is Monty Henderson in South Africa, Numa Life. So what's great about this tool is we can take in any sermon, or if you're doing like a fireside chat, any sort of straight talking video, you can drop it into this website, and what it will do is create generally like between 20 to 40 clips that you can set parameters on how long they are. Like this particular one is 45 seconds. So you can do, how long if you want it to be vertical. Like they shot this in a horizontal video, and this software then takes it in vertical and then will face match, face detect, and keep him centered. And then they also do lower thirds because a lot of content that is consumed on social media is people actually don't even listen to the volume. They're reading the content. And so having those lower thirds put in there that you can edit any of this content if it doesn't get the correct spelling. Names are kind of common. I think CLC is our abbreviation, and it always says Kelsey. So at some point we'll get it right. But so I check on that. But this is great. So what I love about this is it gives you a virality score. So this is 99 out of 100. So it's got a good hook, flow, value, and it's the trend is at a C. That's the lowest one. But these are like kind of more virality when you talk about like YouTube Shorts or TikTok. So it doesn't do a great job, I feel like, for the church. But you can see it gives you definition as to why the hook does a good job of engaging the audience with a thought-provoking statement. And it kind of tells you how you can increase these trends. And as you edit this video, which is all of these are, as it takes these, by the way, this is just one of many that it'll produce. It finds and automatically cuts these like high-end clips and gives you these scores. But as you edit them, if you cut something, add something, it'll change that score as well. And you can continue to manipulate it. With YouTube, they got to be under 60 seconds on the shorts. So you can put parameters. Hey, we want to make sure we hit that 60-second in there. This cuts down a ton of editing time. There's virtually no editing. If you come in here and put this in there. So just a tool, just want to share that. If there's any questions on that or interest, I can,
So when you do a Zoom or a Google Meet and you elect record, can you download that recorded meeting into this?
Absolutely.
Like raw video?
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll take, any kind of speaking video, it's really good at doing this. It's not great with music. It's kind of more because it's trying to interpret.
Language.
Yeah, exactly. Good. And there is. You said language. Remind me of that. You can put different translations on your lower thirds as well. And there are tools that can make your voice into a different language. 11 Labs does that, but I don't use that, so I'm not necessarily going to talk about it today. There's a ton of tools out there, but I'm just sharing with you the ones that I kind of use in the church and kind of how those work for me. So one that I really like doing is church.tech. So this is a Sunday morning looks like for me where I come in and we will film our first service, and I'll take the sermon, I'll cut it out, and so let's say it's 30 minutes. I'll upload it to this, and it'll do a few things for us. It'll make a sermon study guide. It'll transcribe the entire sermon, and it will also do clips. And this is a church-based organization. It's led by a guy who worked at a church. I've seen Zoom calls with him, or I've been on one with him, and great man of God. So I kind of, always withhold a little bit with the AI stuff, but his intention is good. But they have kind of a similar thing. They'll do clips. When we first got this membership, they actually didn't have this. As you guys have kind of seen, a lot of this is very fast moving. But they are partnered with Opus Clips, the product that I just showed you. And they kind of have the same thing here. So they'll do lower thirds and track in the vertical center and keep them there. I will say also you can tell it's not perfect, right? He's not dead center. So all of those are variables that you can control in there. But part of our discipleship program or our discipleship process at the church is we have grow groups which engage weekly, and they do sermon study guides, or they are sermon-based groups. And so we wanted a tool for them. And so this has ChatGPT embedded in it, which is this playground area. And so, again, on a Sunday, I'll upload our sermon, and then I'll click here, and I have a prompt that is we created that will produce a product that we can then put, we can send to our group leaders. We put it on our YouTube description, our podcast description, and it's embedded in our website. And it will allow you to rewatch the sermon. And then in here it says, create a guide with a sermon summary, the scripture, an icebreaker question for the grow group, 2 sermon-based questions, and 2 practical questions based on this sermon. And then there's a prayer prompt to kind of end and encapsulate your grow group. And then what that actually looks like whenever they open up the page is this sermon study guide. So I literally just put in that prompt, and then this is what it creates. So it has our YouTube where they can just watch it right there. There's our summary, our scripture, our icebreaker question. And the only thing I really do is I go in and I'll read this to make sure the language kind of matches the language that we use at the church. Names are correct. We had some issues with it of just it kind of felt the same every week. So we've changed our prompting on what we ask AI to do, which is critical. And I'll get more into that as we move to ChatGPT. But this is, I'm going to show you kind of more practical of how it looks like whenever our people are utilizing our church. So they'll just go, this is our homepage. And just as a side note, because this is right here, dead center, for your church website, you want to have what time you meet. That's got to be like one of the first things someone sees. So just a side note, you want to have that very prominent. So Sermon of the Week, right here we have our sermon study guide. So they hit that, it goes to that page. It's also on our it's on our app. On our homepage, that it's a sermon study guide button. They just hit that, and it goes redirects. But if you go back, I went to this one, which is fine. But right there, sermon study guide button. So we utilize it a lot in just kind of our discipleship model within our church. But church.tech is kind of, I would say we're scratching the surface on the tools that it has and the ability. You can do automation with this, with your volunteers, volunteer automation, new guest automation. I think we've probably seen the article Barna put out. If we don't contact or follow up within 3 days, like the drop-off is substantial. I should have had that article to quote, but it's crazy. Maybe like 80% the drop-off of that person not coming back. So this at least will be that first contact. But again, I'm going to say and reiterate, we can't lose the human contact. So we have to be that follow-up. But at least as soon as as soon as we have their information, we can say, hey, thanks for coming to CLC or whatever church, and that is able to be done within this product. Yeah. Cool. Anything popping out? Questions? I'm just kind of rolling through this.
You said it's a subscription?
Yes, church.tech is a subscription.
Based on size of church or something?
Yep, they do size of church, and then they have different layers within their subscription. I think ours is $100 a month, the one that we're at, and it's worth it. And Opus Clips is a monthly, and we would probably only have one or the other, but this is just a side note, because Opus Clips is in church.tech, but I personally bought that, and then I have a business that I was using it through, but then let the church use it, and then my buddy, Pneuma Life, Monty Henderson, I kind of let him use it as well, so I've kept it going, because they use it a ton. All of if you guys follow Pneuma Life, or if you know who Monty Henderson is, he's a WE guy. He posts a lot, and all their stuff is created in that tool. But yeah, Church.tech, Kerry Newhoff is kind of who got us turned on to that, and he's been a big proponent in the beginning with them. But what's great about this is they're constantly adding tools and just ways that you can utilize this to help your weekly log of just stuff that you feel like you have to do. That's kind of the idea. Let's use this as a tool. So the final one is, you know what I forgot to ask, and I wanted to do this. Who uses AI tools in here? If I can just see a hand. Great. Cool. Who uses like Spotify, Netflix, YouTube? I can see a hand for those. Yeah. So those are AI tools. And just to kind of put it into perspective, it's kind of everywhere. And again, just knowing it's not AI, but I'm going to use that term just to make sense in our context. But that's where we go into ChatGPT, which kind of is the thing that exploded on the market. And I was trying to log in here, but really I'm going to show you. Let's go back to, there we go, Demystify. The greatest prompt ever presented in the best ad type for churches ever. All right. I love ChatGPT, so I can send this to you. I was trying to use this as an example, but this type of ad right here gets so specific, so I'll just read this out loud if you can't read it. So write an ad type, which would be Facebook or YouTube or Instagram, to invite people to, let's say, a ministry event. So a men's event at Christian Life Cathedral for men 30 to 40 years old, could be a specific audience. You really pin that down in there. Who's seeking, and this is a specific need or encouragement, so community, fellowship, food, right from the perspective of like joyful, right, in a type of, perspective, mood is joyful, perspective of encouraging, and then our specific tone, we want it to be, it can be encouraging as well. And the voice of, this is great. I've done this, or I've done like Billy Graham in that. So it'll create that type. And we want a call to action. Hey, let's just go to our website. And then even putting in this parameters so no more than like 3 sentences, 10 sentences in compliance with Meta's terms and policies, and each sentence separated by an empty line, and then signed off from Pastor so-and-so, whoever you want to do in there. But this type of ad type will allow you to really nail down, instead of trying to figure out all these words to say, this will be very concise or as broad as you want it to, and kind of really take a lot of workload off of what we're trying to do every week. I utilize this type of content all the time with anything that I'm trying to do, either brainstorming, Again, but the reality is the human aspect we can't lose, and that's where we kind of get into even when we do sermon prep or anything like that. Is we are the vessels God has chosen to put His word out there. And hey, Brother Ron, it's just a tool. And so AI can't replace us and what God has given us, but I think it's a great tool to utilize. And in your sermon prep or leadership prep, Craig Rochelle used it this way: is like, hey, give me a, I wrote this down here. He said, give me a theological insight on the word peace from a Greek and Hebrew perspective. Well, that's a pretty good prompt. So he has his message that he's going to say, but now he wants something different and unique to add in to give value to those that he's teaching and talking to about it. And he says he'll even go a step further. Once he's done with his sermon, he will then come back and say, okay, here's the whole transcript in ChatGPT. Now critique it. All right, so then it gives him that. And he goes, now, here's the whole transcript. Now critique it tell me how someone from the perspective of a 22-year-old female Kenyan would receive this message. So it's his words and what I believe God has given him, but he's wanting to make sure his language matches the audience, that he's able to speak to all people. Tailoring the message. And he goes into it, he's like, but again, at a certain point, I just have to say no and turn it off, because God has given me these things to say, so I feel like I'm in a pretty good shape. But there is a reality of us being human. We write how we like to hear. And so when we are able to at least try to hear a different perspective, it allows us to be able to teach in a different perspective. And I think that's it helps me, refine those words and makes a message potentially more relevant, which I think honors God. But overall though, it doesn't replace us. It's not an overbearing warlord thing. It's a cool tool that I think we can really use to grow our ministry and make our lives easier. When I'm using it weekly, it's taking tons off my plate. And I had yesterday I had a guy. It was awesome. He had this perspective. He's a little bit older, and he was like, "Man, whenever I started, we had the I'm going to forget the term, Pastor Steve. You've got the one, the concordinates that's this big. Which one is it? What's the name of it?" Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah. And, that's what he carried around everywhere, and his B66, his Bible. And then he had his phone in front of him, and he goes, now I've got my concordinates right here, and I'm able to go in and type everything. And then I've got my Bible. He had his tablet. And he goes, years ago, this was looked at as the most wrong thing that you can do. Like, you need to have the real thing. And so he hasn't used any tools, but he was like, but I can see that this is something that is going to be okay, and it's really there to kind of help us and make things easier. But it's a good tool. Yeah. Any questions that are kind of popping up? Any thoughts or curious? Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not sure I understood, where do you get this prompt from? Like, where is that? Or is that one that you're going to be provided no matter which tool you're using?
I went to a conference, and the guy went to a conference, like a $10,000 paid conference, and he had this, but it was in a sales perspective. And so I made it a church perspective. So I made this, and it's kind of like tongue in cheek, the best ad type for churches ever. I don't really know, but I'm more than willing to share it with you.
I like it though.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah. I'm definitely very honest. There's no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
so Kerry Newhoff last week was promoting Claude AI.
Yeah.
Have you used that? I used
Yep.
it for the first time last week. I was just,
Yeah, I use Claude. I combo Claude and ChatGPT a lot, honestly, and I like. I think they're very similar, but they do give different responses on just in how the language is presented. So I think it's just finding the tool that you like. But I like to kind of cross-check or use different things and kind of see what it is. But yeah, Claude's great. I use it. It's open on my computer in my office right now. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you use the paid version or the free version?
I use the free version for Claude and ChatGPT.
Okay.
I haven't had the need to for what I'm doing for the paid one. I know I have a buddy who works for the Walmart the foundation, and they actually have the enterprise of ChatGPT. And I raised to him, I was like, well, is that a security concern? Because you are inputting data for free, so they get to use, you are the product, they get to use your stuff. And he said with their just information about it, the enterprise version, everything's encrypted. And I was like, are you sure? He's like, well, they say. So everything's encrypted, and it's not, it's not out there. And so that's, yeah, I've looked and looked. I'm like, do I need to spend this? I think it's $20 for ChatGPT. I was like, that's not a crazy,
Claude, I think it's
yeah,
$20
it's not
for
out.
entry level or whatever.
But I haven't hit the need where I need it to. Like, I think Claude, I've only hit a few times where it's like, hey, you've asked too many questions today. And so it's put a pause, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll just go to ChatGPT, and keep going. I was trying to think, there's, Gemini is Google, which has created that. And again, I think I restated this, but all these kind of generally have scraped this data, and they've kind of, one concern that I have is you've heard or you've utilized it, and obviously there is false information that it will present as you ask a question. Now that false information is now on the internet, and now the next time it scrapes, it's now scraping that false information. So there's a cannibalistic effect just with so many people using it, and all this data is continually going out. So I think they are trying to put safeguards on that, but that's just a reality that I see in it. Again, there's no profit in it. Jay Henderson over here, who's doing the financial class, he's kind of the opposite of what I say. He says, like, man, this is like everybody's investing in this. And I'm like, I understand, but where do you start making money on this when it can't make money at $200? So he said that there's a couple of nuclear plants in play, but it's kind of interesting. That's why, overall, I guess what I'm saying is I love the free until I have to pay for it. But they're not making money, so it's wild. It takes an insane amount of compute to be able to process so many people asking and utilizing it all the time. But yeah, good questions. Anything else coming up?
So, well, I can ask this the right way. You talk about whatever you get that's not accurate,
Mm-hmm.
stays up there,
Mm-hmm.
and then multiplies the more people try to access.
That's like base level. There are. So where does it initially pull that information from is going to stay the same, and then essentially it's like, okay, so that's truth, and then now there's supporting truths that support that. So it's ultimately it still pulls from that initial wrong information, but it looks like it's verified by these other pullings. Again, they are trying to safeguard that of like each time there is a negative request, you send a user ticket. Hey, this is way off base. We didn't go to the moon ever. Okay.
So
Yeah.
if that continues to multiply,
Yeah.
you have to continually check your stats.
Absolutely, yeah, and let me be, very clear. That's I don't. How I utilize it most is give me the correct language to make this a better. But if I'm going to utilize this for a sermon, it's got to line up with what our Bible. Like that's it. So yeah, like there's no doubt about it. I'm going to cross-check everything that comes in, even if I ask it like, hey, give me scriptures based on a feeling of peace, and it's like, okay, I need to make sure that the context of peace is actually what I'm talking about, or
Okay.
whatever. But yeah.
So again, you're preparing a sermon and you want to know how many young people are killed by guns. You can get a lot of different percentages. I mean, I've done this.
Yeah.
So how do you find the accurate percentage? Can you?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's based on who you look at. So
right.
do I get it from Barna? Do I get it from et cetera?
Yeah. So I think exactly. It's that data is there. So where's that source come from? And in ChatGPT, you can ask the source. All right, and so then you can go to Google and look at it and verify that information. Though that's a really good question.
You have to vet you vet their sources to some degree.
If it's mission critical stuff, for sure, yeah, I would. Yeah, because I don't know. I don't want to tell false information.
Right.
I also like transparency. So anytime I communicate, it's like, hey, like I do use ChatGPT like all the time. I don't want to make that where it's people don't think I mean I do, even with this that I produce, which is, I mean, it even helped me kind of rename some of this stuff. Like, so all of this is kind of, I throw it as a brainstorming tool, like my notes in my phone, I then copy and put through my head is crazy. It's horrifying. My wife is like, what goes on there? I'm like, you don't want to know. But this allows me to like put some control, some parameters to it. So I think that's kind of yeah, there we go. Go ahead.
It also helps you clarify.
Absolutely.
I think the reality is, rather than just mining information, you put your information in grammatically, punctuation.
Right.
So a lot of the things, wording, so it's not just you're mining information for you, you can make it work for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, with emails, I mean, I'm not a great, like high-end, like make it sound professional. So I'll just like, hey, here's what I want to say. Chops it up and makes it great. I can send it off. What's kind of funny now, I mean, it's a very popular thing. People are applying for jobs and they'll look at the job description and just put their info and try to match it up. And they'll send their resume off. The people will receive the resume and just copy paste it into ChatGPT and say, now paraphrase this. So we're like cross, hitting each other like with this stuff. It's like, okay. So it's kind of funny how it's out there, but again, it's a great tool. Makes us better, I think, in a lot of ways. Yeah, I think a lot that I like to do is just the who, what, when, where, why. I just make a bullet point of all those, of whatever I'm trying to write about. Don't have to put a whole lot in there, and just kind of give it some parameters, and it's going to do a great job. So that's an easy one as you're kind of operating. I did with a podcast. I said, hey, I've got a 12-month calendar. I want to do an episode a week, and I want a general topic, and I want that calendar presented. So then, puts all that bullet points, and you're able to, how I utilize it is like, okay, these are great. These are topics that I know about, but I'm going to use my words on this podcast and kind of make it conversational. But at least it gives you the thesis of like, hey, here's what, for 12 months, you can do this podcast, and it's going to be different. Yeah, good questions. I don't know. Anything else? We had a guy ask yesterday as well about it. Wasn't necessarily AI, but it was kind of funny about retargeting ads. So when you're using your phone and you're like shopping, and then that thing, the weed eater you were about to buy, is now on Facebook. So that's, again, kind of like whenever a product is free, like, you're the product. So Facebook sells advertisements. That's how they make their money. And Lowe's wants to sell you a weed eater, so then they'll buy space with Facebook, and that's how that retargeting works. But I went and put my tinfoil hat on, and I was like, really, the thing is always on, and it's kind of recording you. And then Edward Snowden was on Joe Rogan a few years back, and he was like, I use a Faraday cage, which is like essentially an aluminum box, and no signal could come in and out. He's like, because even when you turn your phone off, who's to say your phone is off? And I was just like, okay, whoa, dude, like, don't do that to me. So anyway, that is like, there's a lot of free products. And that's Apple gotten a lot of trouble with giving and selling data. Now with like every app you download, you pretty much do sign away like yes or no, like don't use my microphone or camera. But that's just kind of the reality. A thing that I brought up with the group yesterday was like you should change your like email passwords and important passwords annually, do dual verification. And then a fun thing that I want to show with everybody. Who wants to be a volunteer? You don't have to get up. You can just say yes, I'll do it. Yes, send me. All right. Okay. This is going to be great. Who's heard of Pentester? Anybody heard of Pentester? Okay, give me your email address, your personal email address.
Matthew with one T, M-A-T-H-E-W dot Bachtel, B-A-C-H, like the composer, T-O-L-D, at yahoo.com.
Did I spell that right? B-A-C-H-T-O-L-D? Okay.
Matthew with just one T, right?
Got it, I did. All right. So this is a free tool, this part. They sell security. But you can go on to here and put your church's website, your personal website, your email, your church's email, and it'll tell you, all right, so Matthew, you are compromised. So you were born November 10th, 1971? All right. Do you have a phone number, 785-284-0433?
That's a super old.
Super old? Okay, house number, got it. So yeah, so it'll tell you like your latest breach was AT&T with that email. Here's one of your passwords. Here, let's see if I can zoom.
I don't use anymore.
Good. And then it has some of your IP addresses. And so if we actually scroll down here, we should be able to see that you're in Fayetteville, Arkansas. There you are. Leaked IP. It's just like horrifying out there in the world. So, I think a lot of people, we say like, well, I have nothing to hide. Well, until, you have a right to privacy though. Like you have, like this, you're not, and this is just out there. There's no not getting this back.
Right.
So I think that's like an important thing that I like to tell. It's not necessarily with AI, but it's a really cool, that was my homework yesterday, because I initially was like, use like ChatGPT, but I don't want to force people to do something they don't want to do. But this, you don't have to download anything. You can just go to pentester.com. But this is the homework. Try this out and just see what's out there. And they, again, I don't have their product, but if you want to, you can utilize their product. They also have VPN available, and they do try. So it says remove exposed data. They have the ability to they can blacklist websites and stuff like that just kind of help better secure you and your organization. But yeah, that was just a fun one to go to.
So is Dodge using this?
Doge.
Doge, yeah. Yeah,
I think.
good question.
I think they just have it. I think it's just open for them. I don't have a good answer for you. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, I think they've got everything about me. But I mean, all of us, we kind of already have our stuff out there. Whether you use Facebook or even YouTube, you have to use your real name and stuff like that. So there's just certain, I think, safeguards that we can take just to kind of keep us as safe as we can. Again, I think most of us think like, well, I have nothing to hide until, that password is compromised and your bank accounts and so on and so forth. We've probably all heard or know someone that has had that happen. But yeah, that's just a fun tool. I think I ended early, guys. I think I've wrapped up. So if there's any other questions, I can help answer or facilitate. Yeah, this is it. Thank you.
Can you go over again, like you go through the tech, church.tech,
Mhm.
you have that prompt in there, which I'd love a copy of that prompt.
Yeah.
And it creates all that stuff for you. Then what do? You cut and paste that? Does it create a link that you?
Yeah, I can show you. Yeah, well, let's.
Practically, how do you?
Absolutely. Well, I'll just do it. Whoops. I think I can just recreate another one. All right, so it's Sunday morning, and then I think it starts on this page. And all right, so we're here. We uploaded it. I'm gonna hit Playground, and then so Playground is ChatGPT. That's what this is. So I have this saved prompt. I'm gonna do this one, and click Use Prompt, and then it should create it all here. So it kind of looks like ChatGPT here. I forgot too, another prompt that was saved in there. We do a weekly podcast, and I utilize it for that as well. It gives us sermon-based questions, and I ask a particular prompt that I like to use is give me an emotionally intelligent question. Give me 2 theologically based questions, and then give me like a general question. So those are, it's really interesting. That word emotional intelligent into the prompts it's great.
wish they had a class just on prompts,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely, and that's the biggest key is when you can really dial those in. That's what like that prompt that I had, like having those parameters that you can really go into. Okay, so here at the bottom, similar like again ChatGPT, we're just going to copy all of this.
Okay.
So this is what it produced, and then it has an area called pages. And why we do this is because all of this data is trackable. How many people click this? How long they're on there, and so we kind of want to keep them on our page instead of like making a PDF that they download. So blank page is what we have, so we're just going to create a blank page. This will be test, that way I don't use it, you know. You never know, my brain, I'm like, oh, this is great, this is the one. And then we just paste it, and it does just about everything. I think what I normally do is I just have to input our date, the name, and then the sermon. I just go to YouTube, and then there is a insert media button, and then I just paste the YouTube link right there.
And it has to be YouTube, can it use a Facebook live stream?
I can use any link. Just YouTube is our preferred. But yeah, we stream to Facebook and YouTube, but for most rewatch stuff, we want to send people to our YouTube.
Right.
Which is kind of fun. We're like, we just hit a little over 1,000 subscribers. And in a fun thing, we're talking about monetizing our channel to be able to like put money back into
Just gotta make sure the
into
commercials are appropriate to the sermon.
whichever ones pay the most, you know, really, you know. And yeah, but that's legit. And then right here, it's kind of hidden, but it says it's just file, and then it has it says copy page URL.
Okay.
And so this page is like forever here, and I guess if we go back to, you know, if we go,
This is on your website.
this is our website. So I'm going to go back to our archives. So I don't know. Let's click this one, right?
Is it creating those graphics too?
That's good. As I looked at them, I was like, I should probably mention that. I use Canva a ton. I didn't hit that tool, sorry. And Canva will allow us to do this super easily. So it'll remove backgrounds. So we have a photographer every service. It'll remove backgrounds. And then this is just this is your name, Supper and Joy.
Yeah.
And her name's Joy.
I'm very flexible though.
But yeah, so there's, oops, sorry guys. Where was I?
Canva's really good.
Yeah, okay. That shouldn't actually do that. So note. Just a fun thing. I don't like redirecting people off our website. And so the one on our main page doesn't do this, but this just goes directly, it doesn't redirect. That's just a thing from my head to note. But there you go. So this is here. This is from October 6, 2024. And all this information is still up there. So it's like, it's kind of cool. It basically never expires as long as we have that membership with
It
them.
takes them directly to the church.tech page that you created for that sermon, and you've gone through and edited and checked to make sure.
That's right.
Wackadoo in there.
Yep, that's it.
But when they're watching the YouTube, it takes them out to the YouTube, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they click this, it tracks it here, so they can actually stay in the page. But obviously, if you click here, but yeah, so it'll keep this page up. But yeah, so we try to see where our audience is and track it as best we can. Yeah, good questions. Let's see where we're at. 1,000.05. So, anyways, we're getting there, and there's a certain amount of viewed hours that's also accounted for in that. But yeah. Anyways, yeah, life's good. AI is great. It's a great tool. Definitely just use it as a tool, and God is speaking to each one of us to present something. And I think, though, if we flex this, we're going to be able to do greater things. And thanks for being here. And if you guys have any other questions, I'm still available.
Do you have a personal opinion about the AI creating minister sermons? I mean, where it's the AI image?
I do, yeah, but people can do whatever they want to do. Well, you said image. Are you saying the sermon is created, the whole sermon, or are you talking about the?
Yeah, in other words,
they just put it in like, hey, give me, here's the thing is, you can go to the Christian bookstore and buy a sermon book. So I'm kind of like Paul, like I just want the word of God like sent forward, but I believe God is speaking to us. And so I think we should listen before we use those tools. But I definitely understand, like, there's certain cases, I think if it's truth, if you put it up against Scripture, like, it's going to be truth. So my opinion is kind of like, I guess I don't care, but I do. Like, I'm not going to do it, I guess. But I mean, I understand that sometimes circumstances happen.
Well, it's leaning onto the Holy Spirit for discernment. Okay, I have these tools, and it's like, okay, do I have peace on it or no?
Very good, Joy.
And we need
Yeah.
the word again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get it.
Yep. I brought up a good argument yesterday because someone was like, I was able to do like a whole month of sermons. And it was like, is that right to do? And I'm like,
I'm speaking specifically where a church created the image.
oh, sorry.
The software created the image of someone preaching. It wasn't a live.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
That's their way of communicating the word.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, some church out east, it's been a year ago. It's like during Easter.
Interesting.
So it was an avatar that,
Got it.
Might be good for evangelism in like closed countries.
Yeah, and there is a preacher who uses the metaverse, so he's a virtual reality preacher. Yeah. Again, I guess I need to know the quote a little bit better, but Paul's like, essentially, I just want the word of God to go forth,
Yeah.
So let's do that. And I think I asked my friend about this. I didn't bring a slide, but he has used ChatGPT and recorded his voice, because you can turn this on and talk into it, and he spoke in tongues, and it gave a translation, interpretation in tongues. That was, honestly, it was beautiful, what it said. But again, it's that discernment, and we both were like, what do we do with this? Like, is this real? And it's complicated, but it's interesting. That's what I thought. I was like, this is crazy. Like it wasn't it was edifying, the what came out from that. And it didn't, we didn't prompt it like, hey, we're speaking in tongues or anything. He just started speaking and it interpreted the language and gave a response. So try that at home, everybody.
Part B of the homework.
Yeah.
did get rocks thrown at you to say you were drunk about it.
And he, we've also did one, we prompted it to specifically draw the tabernacle just using direct scripture. And it drew the AI image, and it was, again, I'm going to say it was remarkable. It was super cool. But I'm not going to put that on our Sunday morning social media, Again, these are just fun things to do and explore. I think ultimately though, we just go with caution is my word for it.
Well, when you watch Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
and the way they've created those languages,
Right.
sound,
Mm-hmm.
with syntax and everything, it's, again, without computers and
Yeah, remarkable.
couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we already know concordances are recorded, the original language is recorded and everything, and when we speak it, and I can literally draw it,
Mm-hmm.
the imagery of it, I think that's what we're actually seeing. We're speaking it, and it's literally printing it before our eyes.
Yeah.
I think that's we're speaking it, it's actually the imagery of what we're speaking before our eyes.
Mm-hmm. So do you use it? Do you use AI?
I don't.
With it or any-
But I use the concordance, I
Mhm.
use the source. It's all image, language.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Absolutely. Good. Cool. All right. Let's get lunch. Let me pray us out, if that's cool. God, thank you for today. Thank you for this group. And I just I pray for everyone here to be ever aware of their anointing for such a time as this. Protect the homes and allow them to be, when they do go back home, allow them to be a place of peace and rest. And bless every family represented here. We love you, Jesus. We'll talk to you later. Amen.
Bless Chad, Lord.
I receive it. Thank you. Thanks, y'all.